Yes. So hello again. So to contribute to the discussion about public spaces, I would like to introduce the notion of rhythms in cities. So I don't see the audience so well, but who has heard of this term before, rhythms? Okay, so I guess half of the guests here. So what I mean by rhythms are things that we see in our surroundings daily, weekly, monthly, things like markets, rush hours, or just mundane meetings, can also be events. These are all rhythms, and they also characterize our cities and also urban experiences as much as physical notions. But how does this actually happen? How do rhythms shape our surroundings? And also the bigger question related to today's discussion, can we design with rhythms? So to explore these questions, I will discuss a case study in Amsterdam Southeast regarding the problem of trash. So this was a very interesting case of us, and the first time we explored the concept of rhythms. Because what you see here, this is the K-buurt neighborhood, and you see the two identical honeycomb-shaped buildings, Kickenstein and Kleiburg, which are typical to the Bijlmermeer architecture. And what was interesting here that we chose as a case study was that you see a lot of repeating urban spaces, such as greenery, parking spaces, separated footpaths and bikepaths and roads, which are, again, typical to the Bijlmermeer urbanism. However, Kleiburg is known by the municipality as the cleanest building in Amsterdam Southeast, while Kickenstein is the most problematic in terms of trash. So this is what the buildings look like from the street view, which is also, again, very interesting architecturally. So on one side of the buildings, we have the sidewalks, and they also host the main entrances to the buildings. While on the other side, there are the green spaces with private balconies of the building. So the feeling that you get is very different from one side to the other. And this is so, although Kleiburg has received renovations recently, you still get this feeling. So again, an interesting question of what is happening in the surroundings of these buildings in terms of rhythms. This is an image of our research design. So in the program of our research, Designing Rhythms for Social Resilience, the municipality of Amsterdam Southeast is our first partner. And we decide on our research questions together. We also share our findings always. And in this case, because we're working on the issue of trash, we also had the chance to collaborate with the cleaners. We did explorations in the neighborhood, architectural observations, social observations, and also we did trash walks with the residents to see whether they're also recognizing the rhythms that we're identifying. And yeah, the research was from 2019 to 2020. So in the exploration into rhythms, there are many ways to work around rhythms. And here we started by identifying spatial patterns. So what is a spatial pattern? Like a greenery, we identified that as a spatial pattern, or pavements, or sports areas or playgrounds. The next thing we did was mapping the areas with similar social uses. So for example, where there are home-related activities happening, where there are social gatherings happening, and etc. Because we're working on trash, we also challenged ourselves to identify some cleaning patterns. So for example, we found out that there are spaces with special cleaning types, there are spaces with similar trash collection types and cleaning frequencies. However, in the urban environment, all these patterns, they're not separated from each other. They're experienced all together, which also is the thing that makes the concept of rhythms very interesting. So we try to find a way to conceptualize this coming together of different patterns. And what I mean by that is, when you have a pavement in front of a building, it invites the activity of going in and out of the building. And because it's a pavement, it requires a certain type of cleaning. So all of these are interrelated. A greenery requires a different set of activities and cleaning types. And we conceptualized the coming together of all these patterns as rhythm zones. And by this term, we coined 5 rhythm zones in the surroundings of the buildings. And these are transitionary rhythm zones, which are the pavements in front of the buildings. On the opposite side, marked in light blue, we have the domestic rhythm zones, which are the most private part of the buildings. In between the buildings, we have inactive rhythm zones, marked here in dark blue, which are the greenery that fills the urban spaces. Then we have the public spaces, gathering gathering rhythm zones marked here in green. And finally, in yellow, we have the commercial rhythm zones where the shopping activity is happening. So what you see here is that the buildings have the same rhythm zones on both sides. So transitionary on one side and domestic on the other. However, they present different combinations of the rhythm zones. So we asked ourselves the question, could actually trash or cleanliness be a result of rhythm zone combinations? And I have an example for this. I have more than one example, but for time reason, I'll give one example. So here, we have, again, the two buildings next to each other. On where the domestic rhythm zone of Kickenstein is, it faces an inactive rhythm zone. And this is actually the area where most trash happens in the whole city borough, according to experts. And what happens here is that you have a very private area, like the domestic rhythm zone, facing an inactive area. So it's not much used, first of all, but also it's not cleaned so much because both these areas are cleaned only once a week, and they have both glass. On the other hand, in Kleiburg, there's a very interesting play between private and public. So, and also in terms of cleaning, when the gathering rhythm zones are cleaned every day, also the trash of the domestic rhythm zones are picked up. So it's as if these spaces maintain themselves thanks to the good combination of rhythms. So why is this interesting for design? In our research program, we proposed that Why is this interesting for design? In our research program, we proposed that by mapping rhythms, visualizing rhythms, we can already invite designers to reflect upon new solutions. So in case of trash, what we could do, for example, around the building of Kickenstein could be inviting more activities to happen to make the combination of domestic and inactive not so inactive. Or the domestic rhythm zones could be facilitated better in terms of space. Or the trash collection types could be adapted to the rhythm zone combination. So many different things can be thought of, and what I hope I could communicate with you in this presentation is that by thinking the urban environment in terms of rhythms, it helps to frame the social questions in a different way, but also invites different design solutions to occur. So I'll round up like that, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pinar Sefkatli. Maybe you can.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see.
Shall I stay here? Or?
No, you can. You're
okay.
Fine wherever you are.
Okay.
Could you tell me a little bit about the future of your research? So, where are you going next with this?
Well, this was the first case study that we worked on in our research. And then we worked on 2 more cases, which were youth unemployment, and now we're working on Corona and how that changed the city rhythms. And what we aim to achieve is to come up with different conceptualizations of the urban life. So rhythm zones was one, and which each case we did new concepts. And we actually want to offer a new framing of the city, and through which also the social questions can be looked upon from a different perspective. And we also work with all the questions from the data perspective. So we hope to achieve a methodology between data and social methods to design cities in a different way. Yes.
So do they all include rhythm as a method as well?
Yes, of course.
Yes,
yes, but rhythm is very well known in terms of philosophy. Mm-hmm. Many philosophers reflected on it, like Henri Lefebvre is one, Deleuze and Guattari are others, for example. However, there is not yet a methodology on identifying rhythm. So but with each case study, we discover our own methodologies, but also we come up with new conceptualizations. So it's always a nice surprise, actually, in the end. Yeah.
It's good when you're surprised by your own work.
Yeah, it is.
I like that. I'd like to hear more, but I'm sure there's questions. So please raise your hand if you have one. If it's your turn, then you can walk up to the microphone, introduce yourself, and ask away. You need to wave at me a little bit, because I can't really see you that well. Can I see a show of hands, please? Or has Pinar been really, really clear for you? Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on. This is your walk of fame.
Yes, well, thank you. My name is Bart Asman, Managing Director of ClickNL. Is fine? Yeah, okay. To me, this looks as sort of an analysis and coming up to a framework of this rhythm or patterns. I was wondering, did you also test it in the design process on how you could use it and how it helps in designing? So did you sort of finalize with a design process also?
Yeah, we came up with design as how do you say it, suggestions for the municipality as a way to conclude from the perspective of policy making. However, we didn't test the designs yet, but it's still being discussed in different ways, and also for different questions, the rhythm zone concept is becoming useful. For example, now the area of Southeast is being redeveloped, and we're also seeing whether the rhythm zones can be a helpful concept to see which combinations can work, which don't. So, but we didn't test the designs yet in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hope to raise some new questions in terms of design also with the presentation. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your question. Is there a designer here who would be interested to work with these kinds of issues when planning maybe a future neighborhood? Yeah, I think that could be really useful, right? To sort of see how that can influence. Go on. Why not? Take your moment.
Hi, my name is Nele Kistemaker. I'm one of the founders of design agency Muses. And what I was wondering, because we're working on, well, a quite similar projects in the north of Amsterdam, do you think that the things that you find in this neighborhood or around this, what's it called, apartment building, are they like specifically insights for this area, or can you also use it in a more general way in different places?
Yes, we're also exploring that because, yes, the rhythm zones, we identified that really specifically to this context, but then we also saw that, yeah, it's possible to find them in everywhere, actually. Of course, maybe if it's the case of Nord, some new rhythm zones could also be found, but these 5 basic ones, yes, they could definitely be identified.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah,
thank you.
Well, you could meet afterwards.
Yeah.
That would be really good. Thank you so much for your question. And many thanks and all the best of luck with your amazing work.
Thank you so much.
Sefkatli. Thank you.